I think by now, most of us have seen this chart. Originally published in late 2015, it showed the gradual rise of World of Warcraft subcount alongside the first 3
No,
expansions
J9, that
and the
sounds
fall
toxic.
in the subsequent 3. Peaking at some 12 million subscribers in late 2010 to 11 during the latter part of
Dude, I wish we
launch
could still see this. I want to see how much sub they have for Shadowland.
of Kata, down to 9.1 million by the end of the Cataclysm, and to 6.8 million by the end of Mists of Pandaria. And whilst Warlords of Draenor saw a remarkable surge on launch back up to 10 million concurrent subscribers, it lost nearly 50% of those within the first 6 months. At which point in time Blizzard decided there were better metrics to measure the game's performance and stopped publicly sharing this information. You know, in 2024, World of Warcraft as an MMORPG will turn 20 years old.
Oh my god, stop. Bro, I've been playing... Oh, dude.
And for about the same amount of years, there's been a non-stop stream of
we
WoW killers,
played...
Doomsayers,
Holy fuck, dude. We played that long? Dude.
dying Askers, and yet it remains.
Oh my
Though it may not be
god.
on the same level of industry-wide gaming powerhouse that it once was, it certainly looks to be so among its genre. But why did it begin to lose players at such a shocking rate? When you actually take a look at the numbers, Warlords of Draenor lost more subscribers in 6 months than TBC and Wrath gained together in 4 years. Well, that loss began...
At the same time, okay, I have a big argument against this. Ready? I think these are the people, like my brothers, who have real life now and kids. They're like, oh, new expansion, I want to try it. So they buy it and they play it, but they realize, oh shit, I don't have the time to play this, and it dips, right? The reason why I say this, I mean, okay, to be fair, WoW is... the gameplay is dying too, right? But a lot of it has to do with our age as well. There's no new player in World of Warcraft. Yesterday, or no, 2 days ago, I was dueling and I was talking to a bunch of people here. It was off stream. And somehow we started talking about like how long we've been playing, everyone, blah, blah, blah. Everyone that's playing, they're around 25 to 30. Everyone that was playing at that time, everyone's around 25 to 30. That just shows that there's like no new players, chat. These are just people that were growing up like me. I was maybe 10 years old or 12 years old playing WoW. And here I am. I'm 50 years old now, still playing WoW, right? Same Copium people. They're all little kids that used to love WoW and now just holding on to that game. You know where I'm getting at, chat? And there's no new people. And this spike is like the old people coming back and they're like, shit, I don't have time, and they dip. Or it's like, oh shit, it's not good like the old ones, and they dip, right? So it's like double of those. Do you know what I mean? If I go ask these guys over there how old they are, they're all like 25, 30. All of them, chat. There's just no new people in WoW, like the back in the days. Because there's so many other new games that are good. Okay, let's continue the video.
Somewhere, and that was during World of Warcraft's 3rd expansion, Cataclysm. Did Kata just suck? Was the time of the MMO
I'm sorry,
over?
Mob.
What gives? Today, I want to take a look at what went wrong for World of Warcraft at this point in time, both in-game and out. Before we go on, I want to do a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, Keeps. Keeps is an online subscription service that helps men keep their hair where it counts, with treatment sent straight to your door and a track record of improvement within 6 months for most customers. Keeps has a whole support team of advisors, prescribers, and specialists, so you can rest assured on your journey. With a year of unlimited messaging, so you can connect with your dedicated medical provider whenever you need to. Keeps is delivered straight to your door.
Wow.
Think of it as homegrown hair, and because of that, you'll be able to save on time and money, with it being estimated around half of the cost of that.
Why is it showing WoW characters?
Prevention is key, and Keeps is here to help. Hair loss stops today with Keeps. To get 50%
they know
off
their
your first order,
audience.
go to keeps.com/WillE or click the link in the description. That's keeps.com/WillE. Many thanks to Keeps.
He knows
today
WoW
for the
players are getting
sponsor.
old.
Let's talk WoW. So it was a late 2011. I was still at university, youngest classic WoW player, I know. We had all seen the latest cinematic.
See, chat, the guy making the videos old you too, man. Everyone that plays, dude, WoW is like a gentleman club's OG members.
Deathwing the Destroyer bursts forth from the earth, driven mad and swearing
This trailer
to
was
consume the entirety
insane.
of Azeroth in flames. And an expansion is always hype. You saw the chart at the start. Blizzard
Yes.
makes something new, number goes up. It just works. Wrath of the Lich King had seen the greatest engagement and concurrent subscribers of any version of World of Warcraft so far. So Cataclysm naturally had a lot to live up to, and I think one of the overarching goals was to modernize the game a little bit, bring it up to speed and give it new coats of paint, I suppose. Remember that this game launched in 2004, and this was some 7 years later, where the base game had gone near unchanged. Well, that was about to change, and pretty significantly too, because Cataclysm didn't have Outland or a Northrend. It was the Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor that were receiving changes. Oberdeen was destroyed, as shown in the cinematic by the way. Huge rifts opened up in the world in Darkshore and Stranglethorn Vale, and the Barrens was divided up in two, and this was one of the first real talking points that people hit on for Cata. The old world revamp made it not really feel like Azeroth anymore, and alongside flying now being available on the base game continents, well...
Unpopular opinion.
Wow, is this for real, Savix?
Yo, Chalk Chronic, thank you for the prime. Unpopular opinion, I think Cata questing was much more fun than classic WoW questing. When it was first introduced, I was like, holy moly, these quests are a lot more fun than vanilla WoW questing. Some people hate it, some people love it. I thought it was better. I thought it was way better. It sucks that the new world was destroyed, or the old world was destroyed, but I thought the quest was a lot better than the classic quest. I think the flying is a negative. It makes it very easy for traveling, and people love that. However, it kills world interaction. I don't see anyone walking around because they're all flying, right? And there's no more world PP because everyone just flies away. You like touch them and they fly away. They're like pigeons. You like walk up to them, they all fly. And I hated that, man, because I love world PvP.
Well, it was hard to argue. For me, Westfall is my all-time favourite zone in World of Warcraft. The mysterious story of the Defias Brotherhood, cutting through their ranks, travelling around the world to learn of their leader, intercepting the messenger, topped off with a good old run through the Dead Mines, hopefully seeing a cruel barb drop. And in Cataclysm, well, there isn't an Edwin Van Cleef waiting at the end of Dead Mines.
Even better.
Anymore. You witness the
lost
of this organization, and you have a revamped dungeon. It's just all, well, different.
Okay, to be fair, I did love Van Cleef. Van Cleef was one of my... Deadmine was my favorite dungeon, but I don't think this was bad. The revamp was good.
Isn't it? Oh, and old Blanche dies too in Cataclysm, but she's a mount in Shadowlands, and
she got what she deserved, chat.
Apparently she was an evil horse in life as she was sent to Revendreth. The
more
you know.
Shoot.
And with the whole world changing,
what did I say? She got what
just
she
like
deserved.
the Defias chain I was talking about. Red Ridge Mountains became an ode to Rambo. Many unique vanilla quest rewards were...
The Rambo quest was so fun. That was insane, man.
Removed and updated, and armor was also changed too.
The Rambo
well,
quest was
sense for the
insane.
spec that you're playing, even more so than was the case between Vanilla and Wrath, that is. In fact, Blizzard have been updating quest rewards since TBC because Vanilla had absolute gems like this. And the questing revamp was an area that players took issue with as well. Uldum, one of the new zones, has a huge quest chain which is pretty clearly centered around movie character Indiana Jones.
I liked
these
quests.
Has historically always been a negative talking point too, even though it was optional content.
Bro, Vashir, I loved the underwater walking. And then I get my little seahorse with the whip. I go... I loved Vashir. I don't know why people hate it. I love this place, chat. I remember exact. I was maybe in like 10th grade or 11th grade. I woke up extra early so that I could play like 2 hours before I go to school. And I had a blast. The under the water. It was a whole new experience because we never really had under the water. I liked the Vashir, chat.
And you could have just started in Mount Hyjal instead. Though talking about overusing pop culture in World of Warcraft during Cataclysm is a bit, I don't know. Yes, there was a lot of it, but there always has been in World of Warcraft. Here's a few not too subtle references from the Death Knight starter zone. We have a quest called Tonight We Dine in Hell. Pretty clear reference to 300. I have a little quote from the quest here, the gift that keeps on giving. I have come from the frozen heart of Nixxiom to feast on souls and deliver a vicious threshing upon our
Oh wait, this
enemies.
is Gotik? What? He was here?
and I'm all out of souls. Sounds rather like Duke Nukem to me. And we even have a quest called Grand Theft Palomino. I mean, come on. All three of these are from the DK starter zone, remember, as in the start of a high fantasy new class to World of Warcraft, which has a pretty serious
DK quest
story
was
arc
so
in the battle
fun.
for Light's Hope Chapel, and your Death Knight then going on to join your faction. Kind of
DK
like how
quest was
Oldham
so
has a bit
good.
of silliness with Harrison Jones winging around ancient tombs, but then you also have the Halls of Origination, which was rumoured to contain a device which could reorder all life on Azeroth, which isn't exactly a good thing. Maybe it was just a bit more prominent and in your face in Kata, but Blizzard have always made World of Warcraft like this. And on the topic of the world, Blizzard a little while ago did a post on the design pillars for Classic, where they say the world is the main
Hashtag some changes.
character. This pillar of design means we need to preserve the
What
world
are
we
these
have
hashtags?
created from excessive changes. How exactly does that fit in with Kata Classic then, when part of the expansion is the entire world changing? One final thing about the old world and quests changing is a lot less people these days are joining the game, and it's gone in more of a seasonal direction, I feel. Also, we don't have an LFD, so there's going to be even less people running dungeons. Also, the new zones in Kata all require flying to certain degrees. All in all though, if I had to pick one, I do think I have a preference towards the older world that Vanilla had. Anyways, I want to move on from this point as I've got a lot more to cover. So I just mentioned that I think the game has gone in more of a seasonal direction, as in new patch happens, you play the new patch for a bit, until you get bored, you wait for the next patch, and you repeat. I'd wager that per sub, people are spending on average less time in game than they were in 2010 by quite a large margin. Now, many games have full
Like I said, it's the age. A lot of us are old. WoW players are all old. They have to take care of the kids, etc. As well as there's so many other new games that are really good, and you could just jump on and play right away, right? With no grind.
fully embrace this pattern. On retail, they don't have new patches anymore. They instead call them seasons. And a season in retail will entail a new arena season, a new Mythic Plus season, new raid, a new set of gear, and so on. It's as if each patch is a reset. Now, I want to bring two things up here. This whole idea of the seasonality of the game really began in Wrath. In Classic, gear and itemization was absolutely all over the place. Some items from Molten Core were BIS nearly forever because stuff like Hit was allocated.
Who is that, by the way? I always saw that guy since like Warcraft 3.
In entire percentages, and the difference between 1% hit and 2% is actually kind of a big deal. In TBC, this was less of the case. There are some outliers here, such as Dragonspine Trophy, Serpent Coil Braid from Serpent Shrine Cavern, and Cursed Vision of Sargeras from Illidan were great to name a few. In Wrath, there's straight up a new currency, or at least there was originally, in each new patch through badges. And you know how Blizzard are currently considering how to boost up item levels in Ulduar and then creating Heroic plus Dungeon difficulty for the old Ray loot? Yeah, that's because the first time around Trial of the Crusader made the vast majority of Ulduar content irrelevant the moment it released. The Blizzard developer, Chris Zerhut, who implemented original Wrath gear levels, is working on Classic, and these are literally his ideas. I don't know how else I can put this. Seasonal WoW started in Wrath, but future expansions definitely continued to lean into it. Also, okay, this is going probably the most off topic I managed to go in a video in quite a while, but I want to say it. I can see a day where subscription is replaced by Battle Pass, and that free-to-play and Battle Pass becomes the go-to monetization for MMORPGs. We know Microsoft is buying out Activision Blizzard. World of Warcraft could be...
Dude, I say this all the time too. People hate it, but I think making it free to play and making a battle pass is way better. It just creates so many new people to come in and play. And people don't frown upon buying the game and paying a month. A lot of new people don't come because of that, right?
to a Game Pass, but then for each new season of the game, hey, let's try and bring out something for people who play the game seasonally. Think of how many other games do battle passes: Call of Duty, Fortnite, League of Legends, Teamfight Tactics, Valorant. Hey, even Blizzard's giving it another shot at the moment with Overwatch. The Riot MMO will be free to play and will have battle passes. You heard it here first. And yes, they will try to sell you cosmetics outside of that too.
You heard it here first. That was on Cannon's interview.
Back to the video. Talents and itemization. So back from 2011, you can see time and time again, if I go through comments, that it was claimed that Kata...
Kata was actually really good expansion heroes for great initial raids, ton of fun. PvP was actually balanced. I don't know about that. This guy's on Master Copium. PvP was not balanced. Dude, they said this shit. They said this in BC. They're like, oh my god, BC Arena is gonna be insane and most balanced. Wrath is the prime arena con. No, it's not, man. Every expansion had its fun, goods and bads. I don't think we ever had like a perfectly balanced PvP. Maybe Mob and Legion were kind of close, but I don't think Kata was perfect either. Funny how every WoW streamer is coping about Riot Game MMO. Dude, Riot Game MMO is gonna be insane, man.
Dumbed down the game. Talents went from the sprawling trees of Wrath of the Lich King to far more linear, where you were required to invest 31 points into a tree before you could explore your other options, and stats were simplified down a lot. It was in Kata that equipping your class's appropriate armor set gave you 5% main stat, so now paladins wear plate, shamans wear mail, and so on. Gone were the days of warriors enjoying a nice bit of leather.
Yes, because warriors yoink all the leathers.
Stats were streamlined, and generally you had much less decision making with gear, and reforging even allowed you to reallocate 40% of a secondary stat to one of your preference, making even suboptimal stats become quite good. From a theory crafter point of view, yeah,
I remember this.
A whole lot simpler at that. These days, through talents, guides, bit lists, simcrafts, it's just also easily available to anyone who wants to put some effort into their character. I've said it before and I'll say it again, what made the old talents interesting wasn't the size of the talent tree, it was the fact that they changed it often. Back then, Blizzard did big class changes mid-expansion or even mid-patch.
What is your
The term
schedule,
Flavor of
Alice?
the Month began to rise in prominence in original Wrath because of this. Also, when I read dumbed down gameplay compared to classic or TBC after having experienced
Dude, I remember people saying BW is a real challenge. AQ is the real challenge. Holy man, classic rating was very hard and difficult indeed.
Classic and TBC is just, I can't take that seriously whatsoever. The Warlocks go back to just pressing Shadow Bolt for their entire rotation in Cataclysm? No, they don't. Even the average class gameplay in Wrath is so much more involved than Classic or TBC. There's preference one way or the other, and I get that, but you have an actual rotation now for most classes.
What are you...
Timing cooldowns, snapshotting, and so on. There is just objectively more.
Dude, Rogue's IC kill station doing #1 damage. All he does is mutilate, and if it... Not eviscerate. What is the other one, chat? The poison one? He just presses 2 buttons.
Going on, and even in Wrath Classic today,
And Venom!
decade or
Literally
more of
2
fan
button.
service,
What do you
players
mean
are still
complex?
Innovating new ways to optimize the game.
I think
Rogue choosing
retail is way more complex. I think retail rotation is the most fun.
Fell Striker have become the best AoE
I only
class
see him
in the
dead,
game.
that's true
Dual
too.
wielding Unholy Death Knights with their pets doing about 70% of their damage thanks to snapshotting and so on. Kata is going to have seen way less testing, and I bet there will still be loads of new things to discover. I
Dude,
think
is Blizzard actually gonna do Kata Classic though? Like, I meme about it being Kata hype, just for fun. Dude, I don't know, man. Dude, can you guys please kill off Classic or just make Classic Plus new content?
people are making a bigger deal out of this than it really was, and it will be fine.
Mom,
whenever
shut
they finally
up,
do it.
dude.
Again, just in my opinion. Next, raids and the story. Deathwing, the first big villain to fall short on their boss fight, and yeah, I kind of agree on this one. By Dragon Soul, a lot of classes were actually pretty fun to play. There was just something about the raid which didn't A, live up to previous tiers, or B, feel like a super good send-off for the big villain. Also, Dragon Soul went on for way too long, a trend that would go on to repeat itself in future World of Warcraft expansions. Dragon Soul dropped on 29th November 2011, Mr. Pandaria was on the 25th of September 2012. At least in Classic they get to pick the dates for it, right? Dragon Soul also introduced the highly controversial looking for raid feature. Debates on the benefit for the game, or lack thereof, continue on this to this day. I imagine I'll be talking about it a lot more some.
Wait, LFR? What's the reason why people get mad at LFR chat? Can you guys enlighten me with it? What's the reason why people get mad about it? Because you don't get the same reward as normal or heroic, right? It's just so that you can go in and experience it, no? I feel like there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know why it's so hated. Because elitists want to gatekeep, and now they can't. Simple as that. They're the same person who hates solo queue. They want to gatekeep. I think it's dumbed down mechanic. Right. It's dumbed down mechanic. It's a little easier, but you don't get the same reward as normal or heroic. It's LFR loot, right? I don't know why people are mad about it as PvP player. I like that LFR. Just go through. Yeah, it's like some people just want to go and see the bosses and see the story, right? Promotes laziness when it comes down to learning mechanic and trying hard. Right, but again, there's normal and heroic. Getting an LFR, no one's gonna be like, wow, you killed LFR, then you're a hero. No one's gonna say that. It's just people want to go in, experience the raid. They don't want to spend a whole lot of time learning the mechanic. Like, I don't know why people are mad about it. Previously, it dropped competitive gear, now it drops dumpster gear. Gotcha. Okay, if it dropped the same gear, I could see where that problem lies. But if it's normalized now, dumpster gear, I don't mind it. It's as if you got glad looking gear at 1000 rating. Aha. I mean, I wouldn't really mind. I remember it was about gatekeeping back then. I think it's due to the invalidating old raids. LFR has a mechanic. I think you just... LFR is something where you turn on a movie on your screen and just play through like... tick, 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 tick. And like, oh shit, I killed the boss. What did we get? Or you go there to just, you know, go through the story. Yeah, I haven't done a whole lot of LFR. That's why I'm asking if you guys can enlighten me, right? I remember I did a few of them just to see the cutscenes back in Mr. Pandaria, I believe. Because I haven't seen the cutscenes, right? Everyone has Assassination Rogue and LFR2 button. People get mad because gear was basically last year gear set and stuff for free. When Titan Forging existed, LFR could give decent upgrades. Gotcha. I go there and AFK 1 button spam while jacking my shit. But you're jacking off and you're doing LFR? Dude, you're kind of crazy, man. Can't confirm all of this. I killed myself 3-time mistake and LFR jailer. Okay. People got mad because eye level dropped. It dropped the same model of gear. People felt cheated, but they could earn the same model of gear. Dude, normal raid's not hard though. I feel like that's just really gatekeeping. Because heroic gear is where it looks different, right? And that's where it really matters. People fighting for normal gear and LFR gear, dude, that shouldn't really matter.
Someday in the future, but as to not overdo it here, I'll confidently assume if Wrath has no LFD, there's no way Kata will have an LFR. Alongside raiding, I also think the launch content was straight up too hard for the majority of players. Blizzard had heard that Wrath of the Lich King heroics were too easy, so they completely 180'd that for Kata, and with an LFD system at the time, it was a disaster waiting to happen. Raiding also kept a format similar to what was available in Icecrown Citadel with heroic 10.
I swear to God, people said that about Wrath. They're like, Wrath heroics are gonna be insane and much harder. You're gonna have to CC everything and do coordination of boss. Dude, we go in there, me and Guzu, we're doing normal as 2-man, complete the whole thing, and then we make a 5-man, we just fucking spurk to like no CC, just pull everything. Wrath is I think Kata, everyone's just gonna, we're not gonna CC in Kata as well. The game has changed, chat. It's not gonna be same as the old play unless they like buff the dungeon mobs hardcore. Back when I played Classic, we used to like sap, poly, etc. Even in Magister's Terrence, we were CCing mobs, but people are just better now, right? And there's so much knowledge about the game already. Yeah.
25-man, but now instead both of these gave the same levels of loot. 25 just awarded more items, which sounds great until you remember how some fights are scaled between the two difficulties. There were those fights which were just so much harder on 10-man. Halfus Wormbreaker comes to mind here. There's a reason Blizzard eventually swapped to 20-man mythics, and it was all about balancing the content for the appropriate number of players. I often hear too that Wrath of the Lich King was the real end of World of Warcraft from a story point of view. We beat Arthas, we finished the storyline that began with Warcraft 3. That's it, job done. But isn't there still this army of never-ending demons led by a titan hellbent on the entire destruction of Azeroth? Is that not a little bit of a loose end there, as in the same legion that was tied to Arthas becoming the Lich King in the first place? For me, if there was ever a time of feeling that we're beaten the...
I think Lich King is considered the best sword because it's like Warcraft 3 favorited hero, right? I would say the concept idea of Deathwing and even Mob and WAD, everything, I think the concept was amazing. I think Blizzard just is not the best at delivering stories. And that is my statement, chat. I think they could have done some insane story, but I think they just deliver it very, very badly.
Big bad for good, it was in Legion without a doubt, and yes, there's always going to be threats to the world. Even an expansion.
Some of them
that
were
had us
not
making
terrible
friends
though,
with
as
pandas
people
and
say.
farming, we were also battling an old.
Oh, the
god's
cinematic
corruption.
was so
And let's
good.
be real, we need a reason to go into raids and get those purple items. For me, the raid of Dragon Soul was a bit more of a letdown than the actual story of the expansion itself. But outside the world of Warcraft, things were also changing. Times were moving on. Few games have ever remained at the top for as long and consistently as World of Warcraft did. And at the time, many new games were releasing, not necessarily MMORPGs either, but titles more specifically aimed at people wanting to engage in PvP content. Now, I genuinely believe a good portion of the players that World of Warcraft lost were those ones solely dedicated to player versus player content, because A, WoW hadn't done enough to evolve the PvP scene since TBC, and B, it was just too time consuming to get into. Kata had rated Battlegrounds, which I think Blizzard could have full on said, you know what, we're just gonna throw this into Wrath or Classic, and it would have been a positively received change. But at the moment, it's still just Arena and Battlegrounds, the same as TBC, just different class balancing. And World of Warcraft, being an MMORPG, as many of them do, needs heavy time investment. You can't just go from Warrior to Druid one game to the next without dozens of hours put into the game. This matters more in PvP, as something being overpowered is more frustrating when it's deleting your main in 3 seconds as opposed to just beating.
Sorry, I didn't pay attention to this whole scene, man. Shoot, I'm like zoning out, chat.
On DPS meters. Particularly MOBAs at the time were on a massive streak. Riot's League of Legends went from a reported 1.4 million daily players in mid-2011 to 27 million daily players by early 2014. I think a lot of players got a taste of PvP balancing and tuning made specifically for PvP and did not.
Yeah, even in Korea, none of the... Chat, if a Korean pro players stop playing WoW, it means the PvP's not good. The money's not there, you know? Yeah, League was just substantially better in PvP. It's a different game though, right? It's not an MMO.
Not look back. Not necessarily just.
But I remember after Wrath, I didn't see any like big competitions going on after.
That's one example at the time, but no longer did you have to deal with having to get PvE bis. No leveling, no gearing, no PvE balance changes messing up your PvP, no having to spin the 2 plates of these different areas of the game together. It was like taking a car and stripping out all the excess seats, the heater, the radio, all the unnecessary stuff just so it can go faster. That's what MOBAs did to MMOs. Get straight into the PvP, no messing about. League is one example. These days you have a ton more with the recent popularity of Battle Royale games, but I do think it was competition
and you can make more
outside the MMO genre, not inside, that led a lot of players to let their sub
That's actually so true.
And by the way, the competition was free too, which doesn't exactly hurt.
I played LOL back then.
Trend to begin, it was definitely a complicated thing and a series of decisions that either didn't resonate with the current player base or weren't sufficient for players to keep justifying.
Every while rant videos are the same. I mean, it just shows to say the majority of the players are not happy about the things, and they gotta change something, right? If there's a lot of people saying the same thing, it means there's a problem and it needs to be fixed, man.
A monthly.
Toad, thank you for the 7 months. I appreciate it. Hello. Blizz doesn't care. I don't think it's...
Savix juice. Hello, young Savix king.
Can we get some Savix juice in the chat? Yo, thank you, Toad. I don't think it's that Blizzard does not care. It's a big topic, man. I don't want to touch on this. I'm gonna talk about like gearing and everything. No, we're not going there. I think they do care. It's just very hard for them to manage everything. And by the time like they're in season 2 or season 3, they're starting to work for a new expansion. So they can't really focus on the current expansion and just working on the new one, right? I don't understand though, man. They have like 10 million subs. Calculator chat. 10 million subs, right? And everyone's paying $15 a month. Dude, they have a lot. Where is all this going? Is this all going to like Bobby's, pocket? Or I feel like a lot of them went into like Heroes of the Storm and they wasted our money, dude. When they could have been doing a lot more with the money. Taxes? Ain't no way, dude. Bobby Kodak's eating them all, man. He's getting like 50% of that or something, man. Overwatch? I think Overwatch could pay for itself now. Overwatch has a big player base. Becoming free to play and skins, they're probably making a lot of money, man. Yeah, I wonder, dude. I wonder how much Overwatch and Hearthstone generates. I really do. I think when they were peaking in Kata and Wrath, they should have invested like way more into WoW, more story developing, more PvP modes, more PvE fun stuff, and they could have just skyrocketed. But I think they just like invested into other stuff that didn't do too hot. I think Heroes of the Storm was a waste. Had good potential. Genshin makes 200 million a month. Yeah, Genshin's insane. Genshin's insane, dude.
I think, and
Hello,
why
Warrock.
does this happen a lot? People have a tendency to say, I didn't like...
I liked HOTS too. Don't get me wrong. I loved HOTS. I think they just went on the bad direction. Like Dota is what was supposed to become, but they made HOTS weird where it's team play. There's no items. It doesn't feel rewarding if you do well in your lane. All the EXPs like shared. There is no like CSing. It's a lot easier, which is for casual. However, it's a PvP game and people want to get competitive, right? It's all about teamwork. There's like very little of carry potential in HOTS. And I think that's what turned off a lot of people. I didn't like it either. Like I did super well in my lane. My team's getting smashed in middle and we just lose because we share EXP as well, right? I think if they made it like Dota and League where you have items, etc., HOTS would have blasted. They would have killed it. I don't know why they went with their own ways. Yeah, I think it's stupid. Blizzard abandoned the StarCraft FPS game. Not talking about... Yeah, I know. It was the... I forgot the name of it. I know Blizzard had 2 games they scrapped because they thought it wouldn't do too well. I was looking forward to the Nova one though, the Nova story.
Like X thing, therefore X thing is why the game died. People will tell you to this day that flying killed WoW. Blizzard.
Okay, but that's what the other MOBAs are for. It was made for casuals and Blizzard fans who wanted to mix. Right, dude, I love Blizzard characters. And a MOBA with Blizzard characters, that would have been fire. I mean, League of Legends characters like Ashe, that's originally like Sylvanas, right? It's a copy of Warcraft 3, right? They should have just went with a normal Dota mode, and they would have popped off, I swear to God. HOTS effed up hard.
Tried taking it away again in Warlords of Draenor, didn't go so well. For Kata, overall I can agree with the common criticisms I went over in this video, though I think for a classic version some of them wouldn't be nearly as impactful due to the more static last patch nature of the game now. Also I think the out of game influences such as other games, MMO fatigue and the rise of PvP alternatives were a bigger factor than people give them credit for, but that's of course just all in my opinion. What do you think? Was WoW destined to drop off whatever they did? Did Blizzard just drop the ball on Kata or something else entirely perhaps? Also, did you play Kata back then? Do you have any strong memories or impressions of your time of it?
I liked Kata
Classic.
But I don't know if I want to play
let me know your
Classic.
thoughts on everything I've gone over here today. If you like the discussion, drop a like. It helps the channel grow. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in. And I'll see you all in the next one.
Damn, that trailer
very
was
soon.
so cool, man. I like the video in chat, of course. Bam, bam, bam.